A French boy plans to make an American flag by hand. He peels off a slice of potato, then carefully carves around it with a fruit knife, cutting away the excess until a perfect 5-pointed star stamp appears. Next, he uses this potato stamp to print stars onto the nearly finished American flag, but he soon runs into a problem, because he does not know how many 5-pointed stars are actually on the American flag. The older sister nearby tells him to just stamp a dozen stars, since no one will bother to count them carefully anyway. The second sister tells him that stars represent hope, so of course the more, the better. But the meticulous boy does not follow either of his sister's advice. In order to find out exactly how many stars are on the American flag, the boy runs upstairs to ask his father. At that moment, his father, who happens to be the town mayor, is busy practicing a speech to welcome the American army. Hearing his son's question, he instantly looks confused, because he does not know either how many stars are on the American flag. His mind races, but he still cannot come up with an answer. After all, he has only seen a photo of the American military flag in a newspaper a few years ago, while the mayor's family is struggling over how many stars belong on the American flag. The town band is rehearsing passionately to welcome the American army by playing the U.S. national anthem, because they heard on the radio that the American forces have landed in Normandy and will soon arrive at their town. After being occupied by German forces for many years, they finally see a glimmer of hope for freedom. The boy, Antoine, is also part of the band, serving as the little drummer, but at this moment, he is not attending rehearsal, instead sneaking out of town with his younger brother and another friend to wait silently at the roadside, because they want to be the first to deliver the news of the American army's arrival to the townspeople. They believe this will be a great contribution they can make for their town. No one knows how long they wait, until they finally hear the rumbling sound of engines in the distance. Looking far ahead, they see numerous tanks rapidly approaching the town. Filled with excitement, they jump onto their bicycles and race back toward town at full speed. After entering the town, they ride through the streets while shouting at the top of their lungs, telling everyone they meet that the American army is about to arrive. The good news they bring instantly ignites the entire town. People cheer with joy, jumping in celebration and spreading the word in every direction. At home, the young boy carefully making the American flag sees that it is just about to be finished, but upon hearing that the American army is about to enter the town, his excited sister accidentally knocks over the paint. The American flag the boy has worked on for days is ruined at the final moment. At the same time, people rush to the town square holding banners, joyfully waiting for the American soldiers to appear. Days earlier, the schoolteacher had already taught the students how to shout welcoming phrases in English to greet the American army. To be on the safe side, the cautious teacher quickly has the children practice several more times on the spot. The band, which has rehearsed for days, also stands at the very front of the crowd, ready to play the U.S. national anthem. But at that very moment, a gunshot suddenly rings out from outside the town. Everyone immediately panics and looks toward the distance. Then the gunfire grows more frequent, and explosions erupt one after another. Just as everyone stands there in confusion, a car suddenly speeds straight toward them. Several resistance fighters jump out of the battered vehicle, shouting urgently for the townspeople to hurry home, because the force about to enter the town is not the American army, but German troops retreating from the front lines. As soon as these words are spoken, chaos instantly breaks out. People scream and scatter in all directions. The town square, which was packed with people just moments ago, becomes completely empty, falling into a deathly silence. Soon, German armored vehicles retreating from the front slowly roll into the town. Meanwhile, the mayor, who has been carefully dressing at home, finally puts on his brand new formal suit, grabs the failed American flag made by his son, and runs out joyfully to welcome what he believes are the American forces. When the German soldiers see the mayor holding up an American flag, they open fire without hesitation and kill him on the spot. Seeing the mayor fall, Antoine, hiding nearby, is overwhelmed by guilt and fear, because it was he who told the townspeople that the force entering the town was the American army. That false message is what caused everyone to gather in the square to welcome them. Now the mayor has died under German gunfire because of the misinformation he spread. Consumed by panic and remorse, he flees the town with his younger brother and their friend. Only after night falls does he quietly sneak back toward the town with his companion. As expected, several police officers are questioning his uncle inside the house about the whereabouts of the two boys, because Antoine and his brother lost both parents to the war. They have been living with their distant uncle, hiding outside the window. They hear the uncle repeatedly explaining to the police that the children were ignorant and mistakenly thought the German troops were American, and that it was an unintentional mistake. but the police refuse to listen and insist on throwing all 3 boys into prison. At that moment, Antoine realizes that there is no longer a place for them in this town, so he leads his companions to flee overnight, rushing into the forest outside the town, where they find his younger brother hiding. From that point on, the 3 boys set out on a long and grueling journey of escape. No one knows how long they walk, until a sudden urge forces them to stop by the roadside, where they unexpectedly hear the rumbling of engines nearby. Thinking the town police have come after them, they panic and hide in the grass. Instead, they discover it is a group of defeated German soldiers. Seeing the invaders looking exhausted and miserable, no longer arrogant as before, Antoine feels a surge of joy in his heart, silently praying that the American army will arrive soon, drive the Germans away for good, and restore their freedom. Just as the last of the German soldiers are about to pass, the 2 at the rear spot their bicycles. The 3 boys can only watch helplessly as their beloved bicycles are taken by the German soldiers. With no transportation left, they have no choice but to continue their escape on foot. Early the next morning, while they are starving, they unexpectedly come across a farm. The 3 immediately regain their energy, and taking advantage of no one being around, they use their hats as containers to steal milk. But even after drinking for quite a while, they still do not feel full, so they decide to steal some chickens. Antoine tells his younger brother to gather firewood, while he and his companions slowly move closer to the flock. They lie flat in the grass, slowly take out their slingshots, and seize the moment to strike. But after grabbing the chicken, they decide to steal a few eggs as well, so they carefully sneak into the wooden shed. Sure enough, they quickly find plenty of eggs inside, but their joy lasts less than 3 seconds before the farm owner suddenly appears in front of them. The man immediately flies into a rage and threatens to take them to the police station. Hearing this, the frightened companion drops the eggs onto the ground. This sudden accident creates an opportunity for Antoine to escape. Unfortunately, the companion is tightly seized by the man and cannot break free. Antoine, who narrowly escapes, runs for his life with the chicken in his arms. As he runs, he shouts loudly for his younger brother, who is waiting outside, but no matter how long he calls, there is no response. Just when he thinks he has lost his companion and his brother as well, his brother finally speaks up. It turns out that the younger brother cannot endure the hunger and has already begun eating unknown wild berries by the roadside. To avoid being caught by the farm owner, Antoine does not stop for a moment and continues fleeing with his brother. No one knows how long they run, until they suddenly see 2 police officers approaching from the opposite direction. Panicked, Antoine immediately hides with his brother. Feeling guilty, he assumes the police must have been alerted and are now searching everywhere for him. At that moment, he notices a courtyard nearby, so he secretly climbs inside, hoping to steal a piece of clothing from the clothesline to disguise himself. He cautiously looks around, and after confirming no one is nearby, he quickly approaches the clothesline, but suddenly, he notices a large dog rummaging through a pile of trash near the clothesline. Antoine worries that if he steals something, the dog might attack him. After hesitating for a long time, he still decides to take the risk. After searching for a while, he finds only adult clothing, and the only thing that fits him is a girl's dress. With no other choice, he takes down the dress and turns to leave. By accident, he also spots a basket filled with fruit on the ground, so he decisively takes that as well. From that moment on, he transforms into a young and lovely girl, but just after putting on the dress, he realizes that the dog from earlier has somehow followed them. The dog seems to mistake Antoine, now dressed as a girl, for its owner, and follows them wherever they go, refusing to leave no matter how hard they try. And so, together with the dog, they continue their long journey of escape. What Antoine never expects is that when they cross a stone bridge, several boys fishing on the bridge mistake him for a girl and begin whistling at him inappropriately. The younger brother angrily scolds them in an attempt to drive them away, but the boys continue following behind. One of the boys even uses a wooden stick to lift Antoine's skirt, taking the chance to tease him. Unable to tolerate it any longer, Antoine suddenly turns around and throws a hard punch at the boy who lifted his skirt. The dog also begins barking fiercely at the boys. Startled, the boys retreat backward in fear. Seizing the opportunity, Antoine and his brother flee quickly with the dog. Soon, they pass through the town square, and a girl instantly recognizes that the dress Antoine is wearing belongs to her. She quickly tells her mother about it. Seeing this, the mother immediately shouts to stop Antoine. Feeling guilty, Antoine takes off running without hesitation, but the girl's mother instantly yells for everyone to catch the thief. The well-meaning crowd in the square immediately launches a chase after Antoine and his brother. Fortunately, They eventually manage to escape to the riverbank. The younger brother quickly jumps onto a small boat, while Antoine desperately unties the rope. As the pursuers draw closer and closer, at the critical moment, the large dog that has been following the brothers suddenly begins barking wildly. With its fierce barking, the dog successfully scares several people away. The dog then leaps onto the boat, and Antoine paddles with all his strength to escape. The people chasing them can only stand helplessly on the shore, shouting and cursing in anger. But as Antoine continues rowing, he suddenly realizes they have returned to the same stone bridge they passed earlier. When the boys on the bridge see them coming back, they immediately begin throwing stones at them in anger. The boy whose nose Antoine punched bloody earlier directly grabs a bucket of water to get revenge, but instead, he ends up dumping all the fish the other boys worked so hard to catch straight to Antoine and his brother. Antoine immediately cheers loudly, thanking the boy for the gift. Realizing his mistake, the boy can only stand there blankly, listening to his companions scold him. Filled with frustration, no one knows how long Antoine rows before he finally comes ashore with a basket full of food, bringing his brother with him. Inside the basket are the chicken he stole earlier, the fruit, and several fish given by the boys. Soon, they discover a mill. The brothers decide to spend the night inside the mill. Everything inside the mill feels strange and fascinating to them. They quickly forget that they are fugitives and begin playing around inside the mill. But unknown to them, a wounded German soldier is hiding there. Just like that, Antoine and his brother become captives of the German soldier. The two immediately raise their hands and obediently move closer, following the soldier's orders. Although Antoine is filled with panic, he forces himself to stay calm and tells the soldier that they are not afraid of his gun. As he speaks, he urgently calls the big dog over to his side. He tells the soldier that if he dares to shoot, the dog will surely leap at him and bite him to death, because they are the dog's owners. Seeing this, the younger brother gathers his courage and adds that the chicken in their basket was killed by the dog, but the German soldier merely gives a soft call, and the dog obediently sits down beside him. It turns out that the dog was originally a military dog belonging to the German army. Because of the German retreat and defeat, the dog was accidentally left behind, and after meeting Antoine, it has followed him ever since. Realizing that the dog is actually on the German soldier's side, the brothers immediately raise their hands again. The soldier then suddenly grabs Antoine's younger brother and pulls him close as a hostage. He demands that Antoine go to a nearby village to find a doctor for him. He also orders him to keep it secret and not reveal his whereabouts to anyone, otherwise Antoine will never see his brother again. To ensure the doctor will come to the mill, the German soldier takes out all the money he has and gives it to Antoine. With no other choice, Antoine takes the money and obediently leaves the mill to search for a doctor. He runs without stopping, terrified that his brother might be harmed if he takes too long. After running for who knows how long, he finally reaches the village. He goes straight to a shop and buys some food and a bottle of wine, just as the soldier instructed. He then asks an elderly man where he can find a doctor, but the old man tells him that the doctor was killed by a bomb a week ago, and to find one, he would have to go to a much farther town. Hearing this, Antoine is filled with despair. With no other option, he decides to return to the mill first to inform the German soldier, because he fears that if he delays too long, the soldier might harm his brother. But when he enters the mill, he finds that both the soldier and his brother are gone. He looks around frantically, but there is still no sign of either of them. He shouts his brother's name again and again, yet receives no response. Panic and terror instantly surge through every part of Antoine's body. With a trembling voice, he continues calling out to his brother, but there is still no answer, and tears finally burst uncontrollably from his eyes. With his sharp instincts, he realizes that he may have already lost his brother, the only family he has left in this world. What he does not know is that while he was away searching for a doctor, the German soldier forced his brother to hand over all the food they had painfully gathered during their escape. Before long, the starving soldier devours all the fruit in the basket. Only after the younger brother begs desperately does the soldier reluctantly leave him a tiny bit of leftover fruit scraps. Soon after, the soldier begins plucking the chicken's feathers, preparing a hearty meal for himself. But as he plucks, he starts worrying that Antoine might betray him while searching for a doctor in the village. So he immediately takes Antoine's brother and moves to hide among the ruins near the mill. They wait for a long time, yet Antoine never appears. A sense of dread quickly fills the soldier's heart. Forced into the army and kind by nature, he begins to hesitate, wondering if Antoine truly does not return or has betrayed him. Would he really be able to kill the hostage in front of him? Just as he is torn by inner conflict, he finally spots Antoine's figure in the distance. The alert soldier immediately grabs Antoine's brother and tightly covers his mouth. He hides there to observe whether any anti-German resistance fighters or Allied soldiers are following behind Antoine. Fortunately, after waiting for a long time, he sees no resistance fighters and no Allied troops, only hears Antoine's grief-filled crying. At last, the soldier lowers his guard and releases Antoine's brother. The moment he sees Antoine, the younger brother feels as if he has found protection and immediately points angrily at the soldier, shouting that he covered my mouth, would not let me speak, and ate all our fruit. He is a super bad guy. The angry soldier argues back that he is not a bad person. He says, look at my uniform and the helmet on the ground. I am a German soldier, an invader of your country. If I were as cruel as those other SS soldiers, you too would already be dead. Hearing the soldier's words, Antoine remains silent. From that moment on, the brothers become the German soldier's little servants. They not only have to take care of him, but also push him in a cart from the mill to search for a doctor. After walking for who knows how long, they finally find a female doctor who can treat the soldier. Seeing the invader of her homeland now so miserable, the doctor secretly feels pleased. Although the soldier is still holding a gun, the doctor vents her hatred by demanding an outrageously high medical fee. Along with the chicken Antoine had killed with his slingshot but never had the heart to eat, Antoine immediately protests loudly, saying the chicken is ours, not the German soldiers, but the soldier replies that he plucked the feathers. As he speaks, he lifts the gun in his hand, reminding the brothers who is in charge here. With no other choice, Antoine obediently nods and accepts, using the chicken as payment for the treatment. After learning that the brothers are not German but homeless French children, the doctor instantly changes her attitude and prepares a generous dinner for them. After bandaging the soldier's injured leg, the doctor asks in confusion why he did not seek treatment from German military units. She says there are defeated German troops everywhere right now, and it should be easy to find them. Hearing her words, the soldier's expression turns heavy, and he falls into deep silence. All of this is carefully observed by the sharp-eyed Antoine, because the female doctor's house has only one room. That night Antoine and the other two have no choice but to sleep in the barn. Antoine gathers his courage and directly asks the German soldier whether he is a deserter. The soldier does not answer, instead turning his back to the brothers and saying nothing more. 2 days later, the German soldier is finally able to stand and walk on his own. He no longer threatens the brothers and is willing to let them go free. But Antoine's younger brother unexpectedly suggests that they continue staying with the German soldier, because the two brothers are now wanted by the French police. They want the German soldier to pretend to be their father, to hide their identities and avoid suspicion. But in the soldier's eyes, bringing two children along is nothing but a burden, so he firmly refuses. With that, the German soldier turns and leaves. The younger brother angrily curses him, saying that he is not only a deserter, but also a heartless bad person. Antoine quietly prays that this ungrateful German soldier will be captured by the American army as soon as possible. Even the dog, who cannot speak, seems to think the soldier is too cold-blooded. It rushes over and fiercely bites at him, then barks loudly, as if cursing him non-stop. Under the dog's relentless barking, the German soldier finally changes his mind and agrees to pretend to be their father. Seeing this, the two brothers run toward him in delight. What begins as an act soon turns into something real, as the three grow deeply attached through their time together, becoming like a true family. They believe they can continue fleeing together until the war finally ends. But that afternoon, while relieving themselves by the roadside, they unexpectedly encounter a French resistance fighter. Because Antoine is holding the German soldier's rifle at that moment, the resistance fighter mistakes the brothers for young resistance members. He immediately rushes over nervously and asks what is going on. Left with no choice, the German soldier slowly raises his hands. Antoine quickly lies, saying that the German soldier was sleeping by the road, and they took his gun and captured him. The resistance fighter does not think twice and immediately believes Antoine. He then thoroughly searches the German soldier. Only after confirming that there are no other weapons does he finally relax. He wants to take the German soldier back to the resistance camp, but he must first deliver important information elsewhere. Antoine seizes the opportunity and says that they can escort the German soldier to the resistance camp instead. After hesitating for a while and pressed by time, the man reluctantly agrees. Before leaving, he cheerfully teaches Antoine how to use the rifle quickly. He repeatedly warns Antoine to keep a safe distance from the German soldier. He tells him to follow the road straight to the end, where there is a farm owned by a resistance member. He says that Antoine only needs to hand the German soldier over to the farmer. To make the handoff easier, He quietly tells Antoine the secret code. Then he jumps onto his bicycle and rides away. Antoine holds the rifle seriously and continues escorting the German soldier forward. Once they are sure the resistance fighter is far away, the three immediately hide in a nearby cornfield. That afternoon, they unexpectedly see a collaborator and a woman whispering together in the woods. The collaborator quickly takes off his uniform, while the woman opens a suitcase and pulls out civilian clothes for him. It turns out the collaborator sees that the German forces are losing and plans to disguise himself as a civilian and flee with his lover. The German soldier steps out openly without hesitation. Seeing the German soldier appear, the collaborator panics and explains that for the past 3 years he has devoted himself to serving the German army. He begs the soldier to spare his life and let him leave. What he does not know is that the German soldier standing before him is also a deserter. When the German soldier snatches the civilian clothes from his hands, the woman finally realizes that they are all deserters. Once the collaborator realizes this, he suddenly regains his courage. The two men begin a fierce struggle over the clothes. The woman rushes to grab the collaborator's gun, trying to shoot the German soldier. At the critical moment, the dog charges in and viciously tears at the collaborator's clothes. Hiding nearby, Antoine quickly pulls out his slingshot and strikes the woman first. He then rushes over and picks up the gun. Seeing this, the collaborator immediately gives up resisting and chooses to surrender. He not only hands over the civilian clothes to the German soldier, but also gives him the motorcycle and all his travel money. All he asks is to be spared and allowed to live. The German soldier changes into civilian clothes, rides the collaborator's motorcycle, and continues the long escape together with Antoine, his brother, and the dog. That afternoon, they spot a village in the distance. Using the money taken from the collaborator, the deserter plans to treat the brothers to a proper stay at the village inn, hoping to ease the exhaustion of days on the run. Because one of them is a deserter and the other two are fugitives wanted by French police, they carefully make up fake identities in advance to hide who they really are. But when they repeatedly rehearse their fake stories until they know them by heart and finally arrive at the village inn, they are shocked to find the entire village eerily silent, with not a single person in sight. Though confused, they still walk into the inn, only to discover that it too was completely empty. With no other choice, they quietly wait for the innkeeper to appear, but after a long time, not a single person shows up, so the deserter decides to help himself, planning to eat first and pay once the innkeeper returns. To save money, they choose only the cheapest food and drinks. Yet even after eating and drinking their fill, and waiting until deep into the night, no one appears. Left with no option, the deserter takes keys from the innkeeper's drawer, opens 2 rooms, and prepares to spend the night there. After settling Antoine and his brother, he returns to his own room. There, he unexpectedly finds some valuable jewelry. With sharp instincts, the deserter realizes that the villagers must have fled in a hurry to escape the war, which means these belongings will eventually fall into the hands of retreating German troops or advancing American forces anyway. So he takes the jewelry and puts it into his suitcase. He believes that instead of letting others take it, he might as well save himself. Carrying the suitcase, he begins going from house to house throughout the village, collecting valuables. After an entire night, he fills the suitcase with stolen wealth. On his way back, just as he is about to reach the inn, he suddenly notices a church. As if summoned by some unseen force, he walks toward it without hesitation. To his surprise, the key to the church door is lying right beside the steps. He quickly picks it up, opens the door, and slowly enters the church. The moment he steps inside, an overwhelming sense of suffocating oppression washes over him. After only a few steps, he is completely stunned by what he sees. The entire church is filled with bodies lying in every direction. Clearly, they are all villagers. They must have been forced into the church and then slaughtered together. Seeing this scene, the deserter, who fled the army out of hatred for killing, is consumed by grief and rage. He angrily questions the statue of Jesus, asking why you did not appear to save these innocent people, why you watched them be massacred without intervening. At that moment, an overwhelming sense of guilt crashes down on him. The villagers were brutally murdered, and he had taken advantage of their deaths to steal their possessions. Thinking of this, he immediately opens his suitcase in shame and, in repentance, begins taking out the stolen items one by one. But at that very moment, a group of American soldiers suddenly appears before him. Seeing the scene, they instantly conclude that he is a criminal who looted during a massacre. Without hesitation, they drag him out of the church. The dog that has followed him all this way desperately barks and bites, trying to save him, but in the next second, the dog is shot dead by the American soldiers. The gunshot jolts Antoine awake from his sleep. He immediately wakes his brother and rushes to the window, only to see the deserters standing nearby, about to be executed. Antoine desperately shouts and throws open the window, begging the soldiers not to shoot him, because to Antoine and his brother, the deserter has already become their father. But in the end, the deserter is executed without mercy. In that moment, the fragile world of happiness Antoine had just built collapses completely. Homeless and without family, Antoine and his brother are taken away by the American soldiers. The soldiers look at them with sympathy, wearing the expression of saviors. Antoine stares at them in silence for a long time. In his eyes are deep disgust, and even a hint of hatred. At last, unable to hold back the grief any longer, Antoine hugs his brother and breaks down in tears, for the deserter who was just killed, for the parents who died in the war 2 years ago, for himself in this very moment, and for this era of war filled with slaughter, helplessness, and despair. I am a film enthusiast. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.